But we'd like to welcome Doug Jaeger and Paul Thompson. They are up at the Department of Veterans Affairs Eastern Blind Rehabilitation Center up at West Haven, and they do computer access training up there. And they're gonna the title of this session
Voiceover off.
Introducing the Zoom platform, and this will introduce you guys to the Zoom platform so that we can use it for other sessions. It's going to deal a little bit with the Zoom on computers, on smartphones, and on tablets. So as we mentioned, this is going to be an interactive session with question and answer opportunities. So I'll just go ahead and turn the time over to Paul and to Doug, and you guys can take it away. And if you have anything you need us to do on our end, Paul and Doug, just please let us know, okay? And we'll try to take care of it the best we can. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so this is Paul speaking right now, just so you can tell our voices apart. So we put together just a very small, short, 15-slide PowerPoint presentation. And we're going to share our screen momentarily and bring that up. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now.
Hopefully people now, if you're using Zoom text or a device where you have some vision, that we've now brought up some slides and hopefully they're visible to everybody. We'll go through one by one, and as before, we will, it's open to questions and answers. We do have some step-by-step directions for chatting and raising hand that we hope will be beneficial for your virtual conference going forward. And if needed, and it's too much for this time, we are happy to send it out in Word format to Don or anybody in the BVA who can then distribute it to your mailing list. We're happy to do that.
So this is just a little precursor, as we are all part of the VHA National Blind Rehabilitation Service. These are the official slides that we were asked to use. And the title of the presentation, introducing the Zoom platform. And in the center of the slide is the Zoom logo, which is a blue circle with a white camera picture in it. So, and as we mentioned, let Doug introduce himself officially.
Yep, I've been at the West Haven Eastern Blind Center for about 11, 12 years now. My background originally was in low vision here, but then I got some cross training in computer access, and I have, the majority of time, the past about 8 years, been teaching computers and iDevices and smart speakers and all of that fun stuff. So that's what my background is here.
Yeah, and very similarly to Doug's, I kind of started off both in about 11, 12 years ago, working in low vision as well, but I was also manual skills, which is only specific to the VA blind rehabilitation system, and kind of got into working in technology about 7 or 8 years ago. So it's been a very interesting ride, to say the least. You're never bored working in technology. It definitely keeps you on your toes. So, all right, I'm going to keep going forward here. So Zoom Cloud Meetings app. A lot of people refer to Zoom, simply put, just Zoom. But the official name for this actual program or app is actually Zoom Cloud Meetings. And it couldn't have come out at a better time just prior to this whole pandemic thing coming down across the country, in that it's been a very valuable tool all around for being able to hold various types of meetings, whether personal or professional, and working for a lot of people in many different ways right now. And the most ideal thing is that this particular program is accessible on all platforms that are available out there. Desktops, laptops, smartphones, tablets, all the different types of operating systems, be it Windows, Macintosh, anything Apple related, iOS, and even Android devices as well.
And of course, it's not perfect, as you'll see and as we'll mention a few times. They are not, you won't be able to necessarily get to everything perfectly, but we've found some workarounds that will mention. There are numerous features and settings. Again, our point is not to bombard you with that, but to give you, you're already on this meeting, so that's great. Congratulations to you. You participated, you got on, and now what we want to do is help you to potentially be able to interact a little bit more with your device. And we also apologize ahead of time if there's a delay. We have a slow internet connection here at the VA outer buildings, and we also have about 3 or 4 different devices around us, knowing that everybody out there, you might be on a desktop, a laptop, an iPhone, an iPad. So we're trying to have our devices around us to be able to answer or troubleshoot your questions too. So we'll do the best we can for you.
So one of the interesting things is that varying from platform to platform, where all the different buttons and controls are displayed are going to be different depending on what platform or operating system you're using. So where the buttons show up, for example, on a Windows computer with using JAWS and such, what will likely be different from how they're displayed on an iPhone, which is also different from how they look or appear on an iPad. So just something to be very wary of, depending on, especially if you're a multi-device user, if you have both a computer or an iDevice or another tablet or smartphone, they could be different from one device to the next.
But the general kind of rule of thumb for all of you to be aware of is that, especially if you're a visual user with magnification, generally the controls will be at the top or the bottom. The main video viewing screen that shows either the host or the attendees is in the middle, and across the top, across the bottom is where you can access those controls most often. So if you need to zoom out and gain a better field of view and generally notice and find them up at the top or bottom, you'll have more success than remaining zoomed up and trying to find it in the middle of the screen. So that's one little hint there based on where those buttons are. But the buttons are generally labeled the same. So share screen button, the mute button, the video button, the audio, those are all going to be this. They won't be labeled separately or differently depending on the platform.
Yeah, so there is some continuity across, but it's pretty much the location that can be switched up primarily. But with this one exception here, being that control displays can vary specifically based on what the meeting host has enabled or disabled. Meaning, for example, at the beginning of this meeting, we weren't able to share our screen. That's something enabled or disabled by the host of this meeting. So whoever set it up would be the one to enable our ability to screen share, which you guys were able to remedy for us, and that's why we're screen sharing with you. But we notice we use this a lot with iPads and iPhones for training, that if I'll be the host of a meeting as an example, and I'll be working with a veteran, and I'll sometimes forget to enable them to be able to share their screen with me, so we can problem solve by seeing what's happening on their end. And if I don't do that, then they don't have that option appear to them to be able to share their screen until I enable that option.
And this could be particularly relevant to those of you on the participants who are in your virtual conference, where you might, whether you're a JAWS user and you're tabbing around to the controls, whether you're a Voiceover user on the iPhones or iPads and you're flicking and you don't find, say, a mute, unmute button. That can be a little disconcerting, and it's because the host, whoever he or she or they may be, disabled it. They did not want you to have the ability to unmute, because as we all know, sometimes we forget and we walk somewhere or outside and the doorbell rings, or you go to the bathroom or somebody's yelling your name. They don't want to be interrupted. So be prepared that the host can take some of those controls away, and that's where the raising hand and the chat will come into play. And some of you might be familiar, but we don't want to assume that's the case. And we'll show you, hopefully, how to do some of that in the next couple slides.
So the title of these next few slides are going to focus on accessing the main controls within the Zoom Cloud Meetings app and program. So specifically for the iPad and iPhone, we focused on Voiceover users primarily, being a little more of a difficult and more in-depth version for how to access these devices. So when you're using Voiceover, pretty much you simply put your one finger left and right flicks should act as your primary method to search through the various control options within the app.
We kind of call that your go-to. There are other ways you can do it, and I'm sure there are users, something called a rotor, and there's different options, but generally your left and right flicks will navigate you forward and backward, and from what we found, all the controls have been labeled and they should read accurately. That's a good go-to for you. Now the next one that we have here is that here's where it's not perfect, and this was particularly on the iPad. For you iPad users out there with Voiceover, that when you go to some of the buttons like participant controls, or if you were to open up the, I'm trying to think of another one. The meetings, yes, that you will get a pop-up window and there is not a close button, there is not a dismiss button to get to, and even touching outside of the window where it then says double tap to dismiss, that is not available. So one way we found that is a good tool for your toolbox, it's called a two-finger scrub gesture. Now, this is not necessarily easy, but it's something that we like to call, or here when we're training, the Z gesture or Zorro gesture, because imagine with two fingers making a Z on your phone. Spell the letter Z, or on your iPad, and when that menu is open, we found it 100% of the time, it will close it and dismiss it. So if you get stuck in one of those, try a two-finger scrub.
Yeah, and that was it's a gesture that in all the training that we've all done, we've actually very seldomly used it. It's just that we find it to be quite useful in that one particular aspect. Yep. So for chat and raising your hand during a meeting.
Like this one.
Yeah, exactly. For iPad and iPhone, both the chat and raise hand options can be found by activating the More button. And actually, we fixed that because we found, oh, no, sorry. I'm thinking
yes, it was. And for you visual users, it looks the three dot, the ellipsis, that dot, dot, dot. And if you're looking for it, it won't say more, it's dot, dot, dot. But with Voiceover on, it will say More button.
And visually, those More buttons will typically either exist in the top right-hand corner or the bottom right-hand corner of the iPad or iPhone screen.
Yep.
So Voiceover users, when you're using the chat box, you actually can dictate into it rather than have to rely on typing with the virtual keyboard or a Bluetooth keyboard. And what we did find is that you will not be heard by other attendees once you have enabled dictation to start. And but the one negative is, but understandably so, is that when you enable dictation, you also will not be able to hear the speaker on the other end. So as the person that's doing the presenting is talking while you're dictating, you won't be able to hear what they're saying, nor will anybody be able to hear what you're saying as you're doing your dictating.
And that's, I think, what we found how it makes sense, because you want to be able to hear what you dictated when Voiceover talks back to you. You don't want to hear necessarily the speaker going and you're trying to do it, but you don't worry that as you dictate, the whole world will not hear you. that does not work that way. And once you're done dictating, then the speaker voice comes back up. Again, we'll show you how to get to this spot. We just found these points that we're listing here are kind of just some good general information for our iPhone and iPad users. The final one is this raise hand feature, different from chat where you type or dictate and it comes up in print on the screen. Raise hand is an indication to the host or hosts multiple that you're putting your hand up because you want to talk. You just like we're talking to you now, that raising hand, you get to talk directly to the host and you can speak it. You don't have to worry about using a keyboard or dictating the correct words and having it come out in a way that you're not comfortable with, because we know dictation doesn't always work. So the primary difference, for those of you who are wondering, chat, it ends up being in text and it prints and shows on the screen. Raising hand, the host has to call you out and kind of unmute you, and then you get to start speaking.
So this is where we get into some of the step-by-step directions we were referencing prior to beginning this. And these step-by-step directions are specific for voiceover users on how to go about raising a hand on both iPads or iPhones. So you want to just kind of run through the list?
I think we'll run. We realize it's a lot of information. Again, this is something we can send out, and we're happy to answer the questions at the end. We have some time going on, and we'll be able to do that. We want to leave it, but these are here, and I think at least just giving you a once over of how it's done so you can get some feedback, because maybe you're trying and maybe you want to give it a shot. So first thing you have to do, right now you're in the meeting, you would flick right. That's whenever I say flick right or flick left, that was one finger. It's kind of the default. If I signify more fingers, I will say 2 finger, 3 finger. So you flick right until you get to the more button. Then you would double tap it. That would open up a menu. You then flick right until you get to the raise hand button and you double tap. You should then get an audible feedback that says hand now raised, and your voiceover focus gets back out of the menu automatically and shoots you just on that more button. Now, here's one of those host settings. Depending on what the host has set, sometimes he or she can unmute you right away. Other times that they have to ask you to unmute yourself. And that is an automatic alert. You don't have to do anything. So you wait once you've raised your hand, and then if you hear, and it'll be automatic, alert, the host would like you to unmute. You then have to flick right to the unmute button and double tap. And that then opens up just your microphone and you would be able to answer the question. Of course, if you're a visual user, that more button, as Paula said, is in the upper left or right usually. And it's moved around over in different versions, and then you find the raise hand button, you would touch it, and same thing, then you would go and just follow the prompt on the screen that popped up, and you would touch the unmute button. So there's a version when we put the voiceover, basically the version for visual users is apparent generally.
Excuse me. All right, and now here's some step-by-step directions for how to chat using iPads and iPhones. So again, as Doug said before, you would flick right to flick your way through the various buttons until you do locate again that more button, and then double tap. Once you have that pop-up menu open, you'll then continue to flick right to locate the chat button, and then again you'll double tap to activate chat. You will hear close button, but you just ignore that. So it can be a little confusing.
Yes, that's why we put it there, because VoiceOver's focus opens up a menu and puts it on a close button. Don't be thrown off by that. It's just the first thing that VoiceOver reads.
Mm-hmm. And then what you'll do is continue to flick right with one finger to the tap here to chat or tap a message to type a message to reply text field, and then double tap. So that's a lot of language there.
But that's what VoiceOver says.
So then you could, once you double tap, you then enable yourself to begin editing in that text field. So then you go ahead and type and dictate your message, whatever your preference is. To check your message, the text field is located just above the keyboard. So the easiest way would be to slowly drag one finger up from the top middle of the keyboard until you hear text field is editing, followed by the message that you just typed. So just to double check yourself to make sure the message that you're going to be sending is clear and concise as you want it to be. To send that chat message, if your voiceover focus is still on the text field, flick right one time to the Send to Everyone button and then double tap. If your voiceover focus is somewhere else, another larger Send button is located on the right side of the virtual keyboard, and it is labeled as Send.
That's it.
And then once you locate it, again, double tap, and that will send your message off into the actual chat to be viewable by anybody looking to read your chat. So finally, you'll need to remove yourself from the chat window. So to do this, you could either do that 2-finger scrub that we mentioned earlier, or flick left until you find the close button and double tap, which will then remove the chat window and put you back onto the main controls within the Zoom Cloud Meetings app. So a lot of steps there, for sure.
So you see that raising hand, I think generally when we broke it down is about 4 steps or so. This one, breaking it down, it's on here, it's almost 7. Again, we know everybody probably has preferences, but once I think you get used to doing some of these, you can choose which one you want to do. And I think generally you'll get in the habit and get in the practice of it. And it's, you know, they're good options to have.
All right.
All right.
So now we're going to be navigating away from the iPads and iPhones of the world and be more focusing on laptop or desktop computer users, most of which tend to be Microsoft Windows users. And with that, we find JAWS, Jobs Access Without Speech, to be the majority of what folks are using, especially from a non-visual standpoint. So the tab key when using JAWS is going to be your most useful way to move from element to element within the Zoom Cloud Meetings app, just like a 1-finger flick would in iPhones and iPads.
We know there are shortcut keys, and we will mention some of those, and I think we listed them in some documents that went out back in March, that of course those are very efficient and very quick, but sometimes it's hard to remember them. And so we figure that if you can't, that tab key and all else, that is your movement key, that will get you around. Of course, if you're a visual user, a Zoom text user, then your mouse and moving that mouse and changing the amount of magnification, just like if you're a Zoom, this is the magnification feature, the Zoom feature on an iPhone or an iPad, you make it bigger in order to find things and touch on it. But with Zoom text, that is your key. Changing the amount of magnification to find it, and you will just start clicking on these different options.
All right. So yeah, again, we have step-by-step directions, and this is for how to raise your hand on Windows computer using JAWS.
Yeah, and it can be adapted for Zoom text. Say that don't dismay. We didn't avoid the Zoom text users or Windows magnifier users. It's just these options will work. It's locating them and using that top and bottom as most of your controls will help you out. So once you are in a meeting, if you're a JAWS user, you can tab until you hear closed open participants panel. It's a participants button, or they call it a panel for a visual user. And it is usually by default, it's closed. You would click on that. So again, for raising your hand, it is not obvious there. It is hidden, so to speak, in the participants panel. That's something that is not obvious, whereas the chat has its own control. So you have to find the closed open participants panel and press the space bar to activate that. Once it's activated, basically a panel on the right side of the screen opens up. You will tab until you hear raise hand button, then press the space bar to activate. And once your hand is waved, you wait for raised, you wait for the host to ask you to unmute. Like same as with the iPhone and iPad, that you just wait, and JAWS nicely, once that they recognize you, you will hear an alert. The host would like you to unmute, and you can tab to the unmute button, press space bar. and you will get audio confirmation that you've been unmuted and you can now speak. And the shortcut for at least opening up the panel instead of tabbing to it is Alt-U, U as in underwater. Yeah. But kind of like how we feel with our masks on here. We're trying to stay socially distanced by getting a little muted.
And before I just start into JAWS step-by-step directions for how to access chat on a Windows computers, just a reminder, if you guys have any questions here along the way, feel free to chime in at any point. We'll try to stop and open and answer your questions, but this is the bulk of what we're doing here. We'll probably have our end of the presentation wrapped up in about the next 5 minutes. Yeah. So we'll also have like the last 25 minutes or so for to answer some questions. But yeah, feel free to chime in at any time if there's something you don't understand here. So JAWS, using JAWS, step-by-step directions on how to chat on Windows computers. So again, when you're in the meeting, you can tab to locate the open chat panel and then press the space bar to activate it once you've located it. What happens is when the chat panel opens, your typing cursor is placed directly into the text field for you to begin typing. It doesn't tell you that, but it's just once you open the chat panel, just expect that you can just begin typing, and whatever settings you have set for JAWS or Zoom text, whatever it might be using, whether it's word feedback or letter feedback or both, then you should be able to hear it as you begin typing.
And if you're a Zoom text user, that chat button or control is at the bottom open, and when you click it, right navigation pane or pane on the right side will pop up, and that text field is at the bottom on the right. So there's a lot of white space, so you might get lost over there, but if you can try to bring your cursor down to the bottom right, that is where the chat text field, the text box, is located for you visually.
Yeah. And once you've typed into the chat text field what you like to type, when you press enter, when you're done typing, it will send your info into the chat to be readable and viewable by folks that can view the chat. Also, the typed info that you just sent will also be repeated by JAWS or likely Zoom text and such as well.
You have speech enabled.
Right, yeah. Speech enabled when you press enter to send it. So you should get a very quick synopsis back of all the info you just sent into the chat. And like the shortcut key before to open the panelist panel, to open and hide the chat panel, you can use the Alt-H shortcut key. So again, whenever you do open the chat panel, your typing cursor is placed automatically in that text field to ready for you to begin typing.
And there's, I guess, kind of goes without saying, constant changes and updates. That what you did last week, 2 weeks ago, it may not sound or look exactly the same as it did then as it does now. And that's the same case when those documents that we sent out back in March, and hopefully the BVA that you got, that we were going through some of those step-by-steps and realizing, hold on, that doesn't exactly say that anymore, or that doesn't go right to this anymore. So that's why having some of these features and knowing your general kind of how things are laid out, and then it can help you to get to where you need to be. And of course, can't go without saying that using good old Google to search for information to be able to get some help, or going to the Zoom website, which is zoom.us, and you can just any kind of search for it, and they have a lot of help information. Of course, there are YouTube videos on it. There is a load of information out there to work with you. So be patient with it. And of course, what's going to happen next month, supposedly, if you're an iPhone or iPad user, they're going to update the operating system to 14, which means maybe that somehow how you interact with the Zoom app might change, or Zoom might need to catch up to what the operating system does, and there might be some glitches, and give it some time to work out.
Yeah. So in referencing your problem solving, Google is such a great tool just for searching those questions out. We use it all the time here on our end, to the point where I'm thinking we should have bought some stock in it to some degree. So, all right. So just on the screen are a couple of support options. As Doug mentioned, you can get to the zoom.us website, but these are just happen to be the support sections. There's two separate links on screen here. And the top one is for free account users, which the majority of users tend to be. And we should maybe mention about that as well. I'll talk about that in a second. But so yeah, free account users will only be able to access the online resources and what they call as the chat bot, which is kind of like an artificial intelligence assistant, so to speak. And
they won't let you call.
Yeah.
And I think, as we mentioned in the documents before, you can try to call and see if they'll help you out. But unless you're a paid or a licensed user, which maybe the BVA is at this point, we're not at the VA here. We're using the free versions when we work with our veterans and with each other and when we troubleshoot. So we're not used to any of that. But at this point, we have been able to resolve things either by working with each other, trying different techniques and gestures, or just using online support, Google searches, and YouTube videos. Those have been very helpful.
And just to touch on the free aspect, that one-to-one meetings can last essentially as long as you'd like them to be.
Yeah.
If you have more than 2 people in a meeting and you just a free account user, then your meetings will only be capped at 40 minutes. So just good to be wary of that. Just for any group meetings that you're looking to hold. So you do still get free time, which is great, but it will be capped at 40 minutes. And just at the bottom of the page here, just talks about licensed users and owners of pro accounts. They actually get to report like a support ticket, and this link here at the bottom of the page would allow you to bring you right to that page where you can then follow the prompts to enter a support ticket. But we find most users that we've dealt with have all been free to this point, including ourselves. So.
And that brings us to questions. So I don't know if we want to stop sharing up at the top. And I don't know if at the host or all you want to open it up, or if there are any questions going on, and we can try to help out and make it as interactive for 25 minutes if anybody has any thoughts.
Yeah, just go ahead with your questions. If anybody would like to just go ahead and blurt one out, see if we can get started that way.
I think we see some of Daryl. Dictation is not working. Okay. So I would ask Daryl, are you a, let's see, when you do the dictation, Daryl, are you doing the shortcut, the 2-finger double tap to start dictation, or are you finding the dictate button and double tapping?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hello.
We got you.
Hi, guys. Great. I'm glad to hear that. I went to the chat feature, and when I was in the text field, I double tapped on dictation, and it did not take my sentence. So I typed it in.
Did you find the dictate button
next
did. To the space bar?
Yes.
Okay. One other way to try, which is we had success doing it, is a shortcut to dictate is once you're in the text field is do a 2-finger double tap, and that automatically triggers the dictation. You don't have to find that dictate button. That's one thing I would suggest that you try there.
And then also, when you're done with it, sorry, not to interrupt, but just also when you're done dictating, the 2-finger double tap will then stop it. So just so you're aware.
Yeah, because when I did it using the dictation button, it sent me to something else, actually. I can't remember exactly, but it took me off of where I was. So I'll try it your way here in just a second.
Yeah, give it a shot. And we know it's also, it can be hit or miss. It's not perfect. And I know sometimes I've hit a different finger or something like that, and I've moved my focus. But generally we've found that it's fairly consistent. And if one way doesn't work, we've had success with the other. So hopefully give that a shot. And so, you know, Daryl, that works in anywhere there's a text field with voiceover on. 2-finger double tap does activate dictation, so you never have to worry about finding that button. It works in other apps.
And
All right.
Daryl,
And,
just also, could you just give us an idea of what it is you're working with? Is it an iPhone or an iPad? And just if so,
I'm on an iPhone 8 Plus right now. I will in the future be on an iPad with a smart keyboard. But right now I'm on the iPhone 8 Plus. I shall go over.
Yeah, no, good to know for our reference.
I shall go over to the chat. No, if I hit chat now while I'm open with you, will that be a problem, or should I cut you off and then go over?
No, the only time it shouldn't actually interrupt us is if when you start to dictate, then you shouldn't be able to hear what we're saying, nor should we be able to hear what you're saying.
Okay.
But right now, if you're navigating, if you're navigating with voiceover right now, we can't hear anything on our end of any of the voiceover gestures that you're using. So that's one nice feature of Zoom, is that you can use it without interrupting everybody else on the other end.
Okay. I'll try to do the and dictate you a chat message in just a second.
Great.
Absolutely. Great. In the meantime, we can ask anybody else questions. They can, again, try the chat themselves, or
try to raise your hand, and we'll try to.
Yeah,
Michonne Harrison has your hand up.
Yep.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Michonne Harrison. Up in the top right-hand corner, I'm on an iPhone 8 Plus. It has a record button. If I double tap on that, nothing is happening. Am I able to record the Zoom session right off of my phone? Because when I hit record, nothing's happening.
No, from our experience, we haven't done a lot of like Stuart was saying at the beginning, that we haven't done a lot of hosting with recording. My understanding is that that is a feature that is enabled by the host, and that they have to be able to record it and do what they want. It's not necessarily something that you as a participant can do.
We are recording all sessions.
There you go. There you go. So then that would be something that once it's recorded, whoever the host is would then put it out either on their own website or on YouTube, and then you would be able to view it or interact or use it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Joe McNeil has your hand up.
Was it me again?
Got a question.
Yeah. Hello.
It's not your turn yet, Daryl.
Oh, I thought I wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if they heard me or not, because I raised my hand again.
Yeah, well, you step back.
Well,
step back.
because I have a continuing question. Let me just fix it right quick.
No. You got to let somebody else get in there. Back up.
Okay. All right.
My question, maybe I missed this or anything, but you were talking about the Microsoft. Is it the same with the Macs when using it?
Is it the same with what? Sorry?
With a Mac, the use of a Mac using Zoom?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the same features are there, but the keyboard commands are different. And I think I'm looking, and I see Harvey. How you doing, Harvey? That he was asking about keyboard shortcut list for Mac users.
Currently unmuted.
Yes, that's something definitely that we can, we can send out, and we have, and it's not even related to VoiceOver on a Mac. Just straight up keyboard shortcuts. So yes, you can get the Zoom desktop application for a Mac. We have one running, or we have access to it on some of our assessment, and same features available.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Daryl, you have your hand up.
Yes. I did the dictation or tried to do the dictation in chat. I double tapped. It just sent me to the front of the back of the text field. It would not take the dictation. Then when I went to dictation, it jumped me off. It didn't accept it.
Let's see, when you go, this is kind of like troubleshooting without seeing it. When you go to the dictation button in the virtual keyboard, does it say dimmed as in not available, or does it just say dictate?
And I'm on the phone. I'm not on the keyboard. And it just says dictate at the bottom.
It doesn't say dimmed.
No.
Okay, yeah, which means to us that it's active or it should be available. If for some reason you hear dimmed, yeah, it means it won't like it or it won't take it.
Yes, I understand.
Just
I understand that. Yes.
Okay, good. So when you just do a right now with your focus on it, and let's see to back up, to be sure you are editing that chat text field, as in you have entered it, you're not just hovered on it.
Correct. It says text field, and then I double tapped it, and it says front of the beginning of text field. I double tap it again. It's the end of text field. It's not giving. It's not coming on to take a dictation.
So you're doing a one finger double tap.
No, I'm
in order
doing.
to
I believe I usually always do a 2-finger double tap, and I thought I did again, and it didn't accept it. I will try again to triple check to make sure I put 2 fingers down on there, but I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, you probably did, and that's the ones that once you flick to it and you hear all that, you double tap just the one finger to make sure it's the text field and that it is editing. You want to make sure, and then once that happens, like you said, that 2-finger double tap.
Promise tab period to everyone. BVA members.
I'll try.
Maybe try
one more time.
Zoom.us has.
What else we got here? Anybody BVA member? Thank you. Yep, sure. You're welcome. And again, the Mac computers, I think, who are sent out, that there's not really, other than the downloading process of getting it is not the same with Mac computers, of course, that having to find it, and then there's some moving it from one applicated spot to another, but that's another feature altogether.
one thing I was just thinking, I don't know if there's now, we haven't tried it much because just over the weekend, I believe they upgraded my iPhone to 13.6. So that's just also something else to be considering of, is that they had a small upgrade and incremental upgrade to the iOS, at least on my iPhone. I don't know if my iPad had the iPad OS had an update as well. But sometimes those little incremental updates can also affect how the Zoom app could work with your voiceover
and
accessibility.
Even for your particular phone, that happens. To give you an example, a lot of people are asking about virtual backgrounds. That there's, oh, it was great. I see somebody and he was on a beach and that person was somewhere else. And that was something I thought would be great. I have an older iPhone, considered an iPhone 6S, and I don't have the option to go to virtual background. For whatever reason, it's not available. So there are some things like that happen. Any luck, Daryl?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, any luck?
Yes, I believe you should get a message confirming that.
You did. I got it. What was the key there? Which piece?
I didn't make sure both fingers tapped twice.
Okay.
All right. And that's common, and it happens to all of us. And also, depending on your hearing, that it's a kind of a slight beep. There's a beep or something that lets you know dictation has activated, but it is not loud. It can be hard to pick up.
Yes. Yes.
Well done. Way to go.
Paul Mims, you have a question if you can unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can.
I was just going to say, I've used this Zoom with a Mac for, a while, and I can tell folks if they look at their menus, they'll be able to find a lot of the hotkeys, but they are in fact very similar to the Windows keys in most cases. And I believe you can find them on the Zoom website, zoom.us. But simply to raise your hand is Command Y, and Command Y again to lower it, I believe. And to join a meeting is Command J, and to leave a meeting is Command W. If you need more than that, then go looking, because I'm not going to take the time here. But I hope it helps.
Yeah,
He's not getting
that's
paid.
great. And yeah, there's but also in some of the desktop sides or the settings for those of you who maybe have a little more advanced abilities, in the settings, there's a keyboard shortcut section. I think maybe Paul's referring to, and if you go there, then it does list all of them. They're there, and there's some options to make some tweaks and changes, but not so in the iPhone and iPad world. And the other piece of that, I think, is that there are with an iPad and a and a keyboard, a wireless keyboard. When we were doing a little research, there were a few hotkeys on a kind of an iPad keyboard that can be used as well, toggling audio on and off and toggling your chat panel. Yep.
So yeah, thank you. We see that the last comment was wishing our families to be safe and well after the storms that came through here, and thank you for that. Yeah, I think we're okay. Doug, a little less so than I am, but
still waiting for power to come back. But hey, I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure there's other people out there. So, but thank you, and out there to all of you as well. Thank you for participating, and thank you for allowing us to do this. And I think it's great that you're all on here and using these. Not easy, and you're all taking a big step forward, and we look forward to continuing to find these things out, because in March, when we heard that this was a need, I didn't have a lot of familiarity. None of us did. So it was great to actually do some research to find out what's going on and what this thing called Zoom is, and not Zoom on an iPhone, because that's all I was thinking is magnification on an iPhone is going to get us going. And nope, that's not what this is. And so. Yeah,
Don, I hope yours is definitely well as too.
Yeah, Don, well, we'll, I don't know what, let's get it generated down to Overton's and we can eat a little bit or something like that, because, man, I'm sick of filling up my tanks and stuff with water getting it. So, boy.
We did lose power here at the VA. I was happy to be working with a veteran that day that they rolled through, and needless to say, I lost all my notes and stuff that I was working on. So, it seems we got hit a lot harder than we were expecting to, but we're here and we're still trudging through. So,
well, is there any more questions at all? Are there out there? If not, maybe we'll just go ahead and
Daryl's
close
hands
now.
up.
We really appreciate you guys joining us with this today. Paul and Doug both. This was phenomenal, really. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we can all get on and do it a little more functionally on Wednesday. Our next session is going to be Wednesday at 2:00 Eastern time. It's the space and vision loss webinar. And we had actually close to 50 people on today, which is really great.
Yeah, this is great.
Good.
It looks like we still got 2 hands up. Do you guys have time to do a couple more questions?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daryl's hands up again. And I guess there's one more and I can't see who that is.
And
Daryl just letting
Antoine
us know that he's a Marine.
Harrison, but he's got that person's on an older style, so I wasn't able to unmute them. So if they want to text,
How about-
chat, or Q&A, we can answer it that way.
Hello?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we got
Okay.
you, Daryl.
Got you now.
Yes, I tried the other day to download Zoom and was presented with like 5 or 6 different options of Zoom, not knowing which one to download. One was a Gov, one was some other things, and I didn't want to download the wrong one. Which one should I?
Were you talking about on a computer?
In the App Store, I was trying to download it on my iPhone, but the App Store has like 5 or 6 different versions of Zoom. One is for the classroom, which my daughter was doing her band camp on last week, and I'm sure that's not the same one we're using. Well, maybe.
So no, it should be. Sorry, Daryl. Yeah, it should be just fully titled Zoom Cloud Meetings.
Okay,
And
cloud.
whenever I've
Yes.
Cloud Meetings, Zoom Cloud Meetings, three words. And when
Okay.
when I search it, it's aside from the first advertisement that typically comes up, it's usually the first available app to download.
Yeah, I do remember.
And just to give you an idea,
I do remember that one. It just gave me some other options, and I wanted to make sure.
yeah, there's a lot of like Zoom for Intune. Yeah, there's a few different things. Zoom for Blackberry. So there's different versions out there, but yeah, it has over 1 million ratings, over 4-star rating out of 5. So you're just all these bits of information to be wary of to make sure you get the right one to
Yeah,
download.
good question.
Hey, Antoine's out there. This is Don Overton. Antoine, I've been able to allow you to speak. So if you're still there and you can hear me, go ahead with your question, please.
I don't think we're getting anything on this end.
Is anybody hearing Antoine at all? We can't quite
It's a
hear
bad
you.
connection.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something that in the future, Don, or if anyone, they're able, either through you or, we're happy to answer anything you forward our way or send our way, and we'd be happy to try to research or answer it if there's something we didn't get to here.
Yeah, we can make ourselves available. Absolutely.
Nice. I see that Paul Mims' hand is up again. Paul, can you unmute?
There you go. Yeah, I was just going to say, unless they changed it, if you are on a device and you go into your browser, whatever you're using, and go to zoom.us, you will be able to download the appropriate version of Zoom for the device that you're on. It reads it through the browser. So you won't have to pick anything. It will download the one you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the desktop users.
Or
yeah.
In general, I think it would even do it for iPhone.
It'll work on the iPhone as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't downloaded in a while since we got it so long ago. Yeah, going through all those steps. But
that's why I said I don't know whether they've changed it or not. But if not, then that makes it kind of
one
simple.
thing I didn't.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I did notice on one of the Windows 10, I was on, I think, Chrome, and I was looking for it. And when I first put it out there was one download now, but I didn't see that button again. There was a whole bunch of choices, or there was a hidden menu at the bottom that said download or something, and then that opened up other ones. But yeah, something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's changing every day.
Daryl, you had your hand up again. Please unmute.
I didn't. I was by mistake, but I just want to thank you for your presentation. It is very informational, and I'm looking forward to some more in the future.
Okay. You're very welcome, and thank you, Daryl, and for your service. And I don't know where you're from. Yeah, don't know where you're from, but maybe sometime in the future if you're ever an inpatient person in the blind center, you can come out our way.
So Daryl's down in Pensacola.
Oh, all right. So that'd be a trip up here, but hey.
I'm really close to
Probably
Biloxi.
Oh, all right. All right.
get away from all that weather. Come see some snow every now and again.
No, thank you. I'm originally from Michigan. Almost frozen to death. No, thank you. That's why I'm in Florida. Got caught in 25 inches of snow and 25 below zero and got lost 10 feet from my front door for over half an hour. Almost frozen.
Yeah, that'll impact you.
Well, we can't thank you guys enough for this. It's been awesome, and really appreciate your time and your expertise and sharing this with everyone. So
We're
hopefully we
happy
can
to be
do
of
it.
help.
Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Great. Thank you
Yes,
for everybody
please.
that's attended too. I think it's been really useful and helpful. And hopefully we'll have a greater interest in our other sessions because of what you guys have done. So thank you so
Good.
much.
Yes. Well, thank you again for asking us. And hey, if anything else comes and there's a need, don't hesitate to shout out, and we'll do research and whatever we can to help.
Great. You said you had sent the slides to Don, or we're going to?
Yeah. We sent those. I think the newer one, and I think we can send the Word version of some of the step-by-step too, knowing the accessibility and so on. So we can, and then I think Harvey was asking about the Mac shortcuts, so we're happy to send some of those as well.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll try to get everything over in one email to Don maybe later this afternoon.
Sure.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much again.
All right.
Thank
you guys, and everybody stay safe, stay as healthy as you can.
Yeah, take care all.
Here.